Good Monday to one and all. Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We call it a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. And these Mondays, we love to talk to John Congemi, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. John Congemi is a St. Thomas legend, was a legend at Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, then played in the CFL, and has since worked with ESPN as a color analyst on college football and worked with the Miami Dolphins as a Phinsider and CBS 4, doing a lot of Dolphins coverage. He joins us each and every Monday to talk about the Miami Dolphins and the NFL at large. Yes, Tom Brady is back. Russell Wilson was traded, but the Miami Dolphins are looking to spend big in free agency. We talked about where the Miami Dolphins could spend and what the Miami Dolphins could target most, what position when it comes to the NFL draft here on Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Dateline Dolphins. We do it with John every Monday. He's also doubling now as our golf correspondent. That was a lot of fun talking about that whole thing because, I enjoy it. And I don't know. I wanted to puke after Saturday and what happened where I got completely destroyed in the golf pool. But, I probably, if I get a chance, so we'll take a look and see what happens later on, because this is going to be interesting. Many years ago when Tiger Woods won that Masters and everybody was flip-flopping, it happened last week also, where guys were just flip-flopping on the lead there. They were kind of going backwards a little bit last week at the Arnie Palmer thing that we talked about. But, it's fun to watch tournaments when that kind of drama is set up. I mean, you almost channel your inner Jim Nantz and, start thinking, hello, friends, I've got to take a look at this. All right, Tom Brady, what kind of element of surprise did this take you by, John Congemi, that A, he returned altogether, and that B, it's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
70-30. I kind of think that Tom Brady wasn't done. But I once he announced that he was going to retire, I figured, you know what, maybe 70-30 goes to 50-50. And I'm kind of thinking he's going to stay retired because Tampa Bay's got him in a corner. They really can't deal him to maybe a San Francisco or somewhere else that he may want to go, to his liking. So if he doesn't want to come back and Tampa's not going to re-sign, I don't know, they have like 20, 21 free agents. If they're not going to get the bulk of their free agents back or improve, maybe, get rid of some of the players that Tom may have, be iffy on or lukewarm about. But I have to credit the management, really, of the Tampa Bay Bucs to keep that door open and keep that conversation going, because either Giselle or Tom, after 2.5 months or a month and a half away from the game, said, hey, you got to go play football, or I got to go play football, because I don't know if I'm going to hang around, doing the same thing.
Familiarity breeds contempt. I mean, that's all I can think of there.
I think he can still play football at such a high level, Defo. Why quit? I mean, and you're going to make another, $20 million or whatever it is.
I think he's doing another like $25 million on that $50 million deal, no?
Yeah, and you always have
which is low. I mean, think about Kirk Cousins just got $35 million to lead the Vikings.
I think when it's all said and done, that guy he's probably going to make the most money of any quarterback that ever played.
Yep.
Yeah.
He keeps getting 1-year deals for 25, 35.
Yep.
It's on franchise tags while he was in Washington. It's incredible how much money he's made.
He and Neil O'Donnell are my two favorites in that category. Neil O'Donnell kept getting signed as a free agent for like ridiculous money. He would play 1 year somewhere, not play all that well, and then somebody else would sign him the subsequent year and give him even more cash. Kirk Cousins, for being okay, I mean, would you say that he's upper tier?
I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No.
And he's been franchise tagged like 17 straight seasons and, somehow has made the average of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, which, with guys getting $50 million now, I mean, that's not an unfavorable position to be in, especially since he probably would only mandate like 1-year contracts anyway. Right?
I think he's been living off of that for the majority of his career. I'm not so sure how many years Kirk Cousins has played. I'd have to guess 12. 13, something like that.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a long time.
I would say 6 of those years he played on a 1-year deal for over $25 million.
It's amazing, yeah. So Brady comes back, and that has impact. Now, unfortunately, if you've ever engaged a criminal attorney for any reason, they will tell you right away not to worry about being indicted because the saying in the legal profession goes that any prosecutor can get any grand jury to indict a pencil. Okay, that's how they look at it. Okay, so now Deshaun Watson, I guess maybe it's a little more vague in sexual assault assertions because it's hard to prove in court, and prosecutors don't necessarily want to take. But these were the prosecutors bringing the case in front of a grand jury, and they said, "Nada, senor, man, we're not going to indict this guy." In spite of all, I mean, the numerous complaints against him. So you would have thought maybe they found one of these people that was coming forward to be credible enough that would hold up on a witness stand and get a conviction in this case. Where does that leave him? Now, all of a sudden, there are all these civil suits, but I'm not sure how they're impacted by the fact that there are no criminal charges. You would have to think your natural instinct is to believe that, the civil suits then probably hold less weight. But I don't know. What do you think is going to happen with this guy?
Well, I don't think he's going to stay in Houston. I would say that I think New Orleans is one of the destinations everybody's talking about. I think Pittsburgh could be a nice fit for Deshaun Watson. If I'm looking to go play quarterback somewhere with a great defense, a lot of pieces on offense, if they can draft well and kind of fix that offensive line either in free agency as well as the draft, that would be a perfect destination for a guy like that. So, I see Deshaun Watson playing next year and playing at a high level. I mean, he's won it now. He would be considered a top 6, 7 quarterback in the league.
He was having great years. I mean, Lubie says maybe some of that was inflated because he loved Tua and he resented all of the talk about Deshaun Watson being, in the eye of the Miami Dolphins. And, he said, well, he did this and he did that. And it was all bogus because they were losing. I thought the guy, he looked great a couple of years ago. That's for sure. And, you have to believe that these quarterback-starved teams would benefit by having him. But do you alienate your fans, in your opinion? I mean, the fans will embrace a guy. We've looked at it and seen it many times where guys, supposedly implicated in all kinds of hideous different things and maybe even has done them. And yet, as soon as he hits his first home run, everybody's standing up. Yeah, good to have you on the team, Will Cordero. Right? Well, we don't care how many women, were assaulting or whatever else you were convicted of or found to be guilty of. Do the fans, originally have a cold shoulder to Deshaun Watson, or do they just go into the usual winning frenzy and say, we don't care, man, and accept them with open arms?
I think it's the latter. I really do.
Like Pittsburgh, I mean, the people there. I mean, did they look at? Well, I mean, Roethlisberger was no saint. Let's put it that way.
Let's see. End of September, you're 4-0. You've already beat the Ravens once, and on Monday Night Football, you have Deshaun Watson come from behind to beat Cleveland with a last-second touchdown. People are going to be standing up, going, "We knew this guy. That's all we needed was a quarterback." The people are going to forget about the whole 2020, fiasco off the field problems that Deshaun Watson had, and move on and take him for what it is. He's a quarterback on a winning team that I really like the brand of the Steelers, if that happens to be the case. And I think, it'll be second and third mentions. I think the first mention is going to be what he does on the field for the majority of the fans.
This is Dateline Dolphins. We do this each and every Monday here on the Ion Channel, the Defo Show, with the one and only John Congemi. Follow him, hit him up on Twitter at John Congemi. So, talking to free agency, it's funny. The Dolphins for the last few years, they've made moves in free agency, and they actually made interesting moves, but they haven't done the big splash in a while. They went low cap, young players, and still were winning under Brian Flores. Went to the playoffs, and then almost went to the playoffs 2 years in a row. What's interesting is this year they have so much room under the cap where they have to spend, and they finally, with McDaniel, are supposedly in a place to hone in on certain spots, offensive line, running back, receiver. Of the areas of need, what's the area you want to see them target the most? And do you think, since you do work with the Dolphins, what do you think they're going to target the most in free agency? And who are you looking at?
I think it's going to be a combination of offensive line and wide receiver. Now they may end up picking up a veteran running back, or they may end up keeping guys like Duke Johnson and Philip Lindsay as their quote unquote veteran running backs, and maybe get a younger guy in the draft, because there's a lot of running backs. There's a ton of wide receivers. There's a good depth at the offensive line, and there's really good depth at the edge rusher position. So Emmanuel Ogbah is one of those guys that they didn't franchise. They ended up doing that with Mike Gesicki. So you have an opportunity, if Ogbah gets a really attractive offer somewhere else, you have to replace that position. So you may be looking into either free agency or the draft, because like I said, the draft is loaded with young edge rushers. And if you get the right guy that fits your system, you may not miss a beat. So I think that's where the Dolphins are focusing in on. And I would say, if you're going to improve offensively, even if you have a guru head coach in terms of schematically, he's going to be able to, beat you before the ball is snapped, you better get talent around Tua on that perimeter to help Jalen Waddle become to stack another great year on top of his rookie season. So that's where the Dolphins are focused. You have to have the magnifying glass. What type of wide receiver, what type of X or Z, the guys that are going to play on the outside, how can they help guys like Gesicki, who you move around in formations, and how can you help a guy like Waddle? Do you do it in free agency where it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money? We can tell by the way things have gone with Amari Cooper and Mike Williams staying with the Chargers. Guys are either trading their valuable pieces, or they're holding on to them because they feel like those are guys we can build around. The guys that are trading, like the Dallas Cowboys and Cooper, feel like they have enough wherewithal. They have enough in their arsenal already to re-sign some of the other guys that can maybe be on the level of Amari or even surpass that. The Dolphins don't have a dominant guy on the outside. So you have to figure out, we need to go find one of those guys either in free agency, or you better double down in the draft and make sure you're as good as you say you are, because you're going to have a target on you to start right away. Day one, you're going to be asked to produce.
All right, the 49ers were sitting there. I mean, we thought maybe there was an outside shot if Brady came back. He's a 49er. That's not going to be the case. They didn't, make any move. I guess Rodgers pretty much was going to go back to Green Bay. And, so that was ruled out, even though that loomed as a possibility. Not sure there's any conversation about Deshaun Watson becoming the 49ers quarterback, although that would certainly be an interesting piece to plug into the equation. So who's going to play quarterback there, and what does it say about their opinion of Trey Lance, the guy that they invested a very high draft pick in, and who did sniff the field a little bit, and there was some thought that he would be the starter over Garoppolo, but they went with like a guy with a bum shoulder in Garoppolo, who was very suspect in spots over Trey Lance. What happens with this guy, and how come there's no conversation about him becoming? At least I haven't heard any about him becoming a 49ers starter. And where do they go from here?
Well, I don't know, Defo. I think that, when you look at Shanahan and you look at Lynch, I think they have confidence in Trey Lance. I just think that Trey Lance got caught in the injury. Let's only give you half of the meal and see how you do. Where I don't know if he was just it takes time in the National Football League, unless you're just rare talent that you catch fire in your first couple of weeks as a rookie. You're on a pretty good team as the San Francisco 49ers are. You avoid injury and you keep building on those performances. Yeah, you may have a bump or two in the road, but as a team, you're good enough to overcome those obstacles. You're overcome like a 2-interception, 3-interception game, come back where you protect the football, you make a couple plays that determine winning or losing, and you build confidence off of that. I don't think Trey Lance ever got to that point in his rookie season. So now you have Jimmy G with the shoulder surgery. He may not be ready until training camp. The 49ers are going to have to be in a position, do we push all our trust in Trey Lance and deal Jimmy G, or if we can, or have them come back and compete again? I think probably that scenario is the worst case for the 49ers, because you either want one of these two guys to be the quarterback going into training camp, so you diffuse all that noise from your football team and all those headaches every day that the coach has to come up and give you coach speak for 5 minutes on the quarterback position. Those are headaches that the head coach, the quarterbacks, and the team really don't want to deal with.
John, it feels like the AFC West was already a very interesting division, and they had a very busy week last week as you already have the Chiefs standing pat, it seems like, as one of the best teams in the league. The Raiders surprisingly made the playoffs and were really strong, really should have beaten the Bengals and gotten a playoff victory. Then you had the Chargers sitting right there outside the playoffs. Go and get Khalil Mack to finish off the week to pair with Bosa, and then you have Derwin James in the back of that defense. And then the Broncos before that go and get Russell Wilson to pair with a team that supposedly is ready to win now, just needed a quarterback. When you look at the AFC West, do you see, even the Bills, do you see anyone challenging? Like, that division seems ridiculous right now.
Yeah, I would think one of those teams are petitioning to play in the AFC East because you figure you got an easier chance, if you're, get to 8 or 9 wins there than you do in the West. You mentioned the defensive moves with Khalil Mack going to the Chargers. You mentioned Russell Wilson now in the division. I think that's going to be a shootout. I mean, that's going to be high caliber offensive play with, defensive edge pressure. You look at the Raiders and what they have, what they do to teams defensively. They're stout on that front seven. They play pretty good defensive coverage wise in the secondary. They have skilled players and they have a quarterback that seems like everybody writes him off, but he does enough and more most games to get it done. So, and he may be the worst of the West, as well as they did last year. On paper, you go in and go, well, I think the Chargers are vastly improved. Kansas City, as you said, is Kansas City. They're always going to be in the mix. And now Denver, with competent quarterback play, is going to be 2.5 games, 3 games better. They should be anyway. So it'll be a dogfight in that division.
So the Chargers coach on the tennis channel, I was watching the Indian Wells tournament, and Nadal came back again in dramatic fashion to score a big win. And it turns out that he's a huge fan of Rafa. And they met before the tournament. But when the guys had this guy on the interview, I was waiting for the Tennis Channel guy to go, what the hell were you thinking? Going for all of those 4th downs.
On your 30-yard line. On your 30-yard line.
My God, you had the team. Anyway, that was just an aside. All right, Jimmy Johnson's Big Show. Get on Tommy Fox. I want to get down there.
Let's go.
We have many people on our chat line saying they're coming too, and they're asking, well, is there decent Wi-Fi? Of course there is. It's not like we're going to, some remote island, out, off the Virgin Islands. We're going to the Keys. It's just a short jog there from Florida City. Before you even get annoyed with when is this ride going to end, you're already there. It's fantastic.
That's the beautiful part about going to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. I mean, from where I live, it's only about an hour and 15 minutes. And if you're anywhere in Dade County, you're there in 45 minutes, barring some traffic in Florida City. So you're right there. It's just in the northern tip of Key Largo. You're right there, mile marker 104, and it's just a beautiful place. Once you get there, you'll know why we're always talking about just kicking back and getting a cocktail or beverage of your choice, having your favorite meal, whether that's fine dining at the restaurant or just a slice of pizza or some chicken wings or nachos, and hang out and enjoy the Florida Keys, because this is absolutely the best time to go. It's the weekends are fun. You have live music on the weekends. You have the sports bar with all the golf and the NCAA hoops that are coming up. This is a great time to hang out at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
It's a great time to be in South Florida. I tell you what, people can say what they want about spring breakers. I mean, there's nothing like on the walk of life, seeing all of a sudden, it's like, a beautiful flock of birds flying by. I mean, too young for me, but the scenery still is good around South Florida this time of the year. Would you agree, John Congemi?
I would agree, Jeff DeForest. Yeah. I would agree.
There's just something about girls walking around in bathing suits on the streets.
Never a bad thing. No.
It's absolutely fantastic, yeah. Saw some very brave young girls, braving the surf yesterday. Which it's not like the surf is ever overwhelmingly rough here. I guess, you should probably take riptides somewhat seriously. I was always fairly comfortable going into any type of surf, except I'm getting lamer and wimpier in my old age. I didn't go in yesterday, but these 3 girls did. And so I'm looking out, I'm listening to some music. See these three girls go into the water yesterday. It's very windy at the beach. I don't know if you got out there. You look like you got plenty of sun over the weekend.
I was battling my own frustration on the golf course.
Oh, geez.
Yes.
Oh, well, that was, I don't know, but inland, it might not have been so bad because, I live across the street. It was fine.
Windy. It was windy.
No, Defo, if I could have showed you the scorecard, you would have said, man, was there a hurricane happening down where you were playing? Yeah.
It's a helpless feeling, though, when you hit what you think is going to be your usual draw ball. And then all of a sudden a wind catches it. And, you're talking about you're just hoping that it catches the window of the fourth-story condo. And, might ricochet back out somehow into the rough. So you might have a chance, even though it's out of bounds, like none of your friends are going to, acknowledge that and just let you play the ball.
Yeah, it's going to hit another one, guys.
These girls, though, ended up, I'm about a mile north of the Commercial Boulevard Pier, and they went in the water, and I looked away for a second. I was like changing a song on my phone, and I looked back, and there's like choppers flying over the Commercial Boulevard Pier. And they had washed all the way down there in like a matter of seconds. It was pretty rough out there. So be careful out there, you spring breakers who are here visiting in South Florida, and spend lots of money in those bars.
Please.
That's what we're looking forward to. All right, I'm thinking this, and I'm sorry I had to divert my trip to Las Vegas to Atlantic City, but it is what it is. I'll still have some fun. And nice to just change the environment and change the pace of what you're doing every once in a while. But I'm thinking, how much money did Vegas put into this stadium, the city of Las Vegas, to get the guarantees where they not only have they had the Pro Bowl. I don't know if that's any great asset, but it's something the NFL awards. They have a Super Bowl coming up, and they're the host of this year's draft. And I couldn't help but think, John Congemi, that's probably the most exciting thing about this year's draft. I've not seen this in a while here because this is a draft centric city, South Florida or Miami, whatever regard you want to have for it in terms of the area, but. People are crazed about the draft here, always have been.
Usually.
And I sense very little buzz, and it doesn't seem like I know there's no premier quarterback debate or anything like that, but I don't know. What do you think? Is Vegas going to be the most exciting part? And I'm watching draft picks flying out the door, in great proportions with no regard. So what do you think of this year's draft? I mean, overall, in terms of input into the league, or is it one of those things where the players may not be as popular or publicized as they have been in the past, but maybe you get a better quality of field overall?
Well, there's not a lot of buzz because, like you said, there's not a 5 or 6 quarterbacks that you're hoping that are going to be franchise guys. You're going to be household names. Not only were they in college, but for the next 15 years in the National Football League. There's not anybody like that. Now, there are good players at the top of the draft, but it's more offensive line, edge rushers, running backs, wide receivers. There's going to be a lot taken in the first round that are going to improve NFL teams, but it's just not the marquee names that you're most usually during the draft. It doesn't matter where the draft is because you have the names that carry it. Thank goodness this year's draft is in Vegas or a place like Nashville or somewhere else where you could have some fun as a fan because, for the Dolphins, selfishly, I don't think they're picking till the late 20s, maybe in the 30s.
Wow.
Even if they pick, they may end up trading out of that spot.
Yeah.
So it's the buzzkill for, getting, 3 picks in the first round last year or two last year and 3 the year before. You're kind of feeling like, wow, we've got a lot to look forward to. The Dolphins, selfishly, we're always talking about how they can improve the team. Well, they may not improve it in the first round because they may find a way to get out and trade up and do something else. Or when they do pick, it's kind of, it's your offensive lineman, it's your edge rusher, it's a wide receiver, but you don't pick until the draft's almost over in round number 1.
Yep.
Seems to go against the whole principle of tanking, which they were clearly involved in a few years ago, trying to lose every game, maybe to the point where even Stephen Ross was offering bribe money to help bring that about. But even if he was kidding, I mean, obviously that was part of their intention. And yet, the theory was, you're going to build us back up through the draft, and they had all of this draft capital. What happened to that?
Well,
as
they
we go
turned
into
it
this season.
Yeah.
9 wins and 10 wins.
Yeah.
It just was one game shy of being good enough, right?
Yep.
All right.
So they went from a 5-win team to 10 to 9.
Yep.
That's the hardest jump. Once you get to double digits, getting 10 to 11 or 12
Yep.
for any organization.
Yeah, they're not rebuilding anymore.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to win. Supposedly, that's what we've heard.
Let's hope so. All right, we'll see what happens. Anyway, a great session here, John Congemi. It was a pleasure, as always. Had a lot of fun on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here on the Defo Show. John Congemi, brought to you by Jimmy John's Peak Chill.
We always have a great time talking with John Congemi on these Mondays, as we've dubbed it, Dateline Dolphins. Yes, Tom Brady stole the show on Selection Sunday NCAA tournament. Brackets are set. Tom Brady, again, I talked about it on the show. If Tom Brady retires, is gone for only a month, comes back before the draft, let alone minicamp, training camp, is it really retirement or just the offseason and Tom Brady wants to be the center of attention? I don't really consider it a retirement. A lot of us weren't sure if he'd stay retired. He didn't. He's back with the Bucs. We'll see if he stays with the Bucs. He says he's with the Bucs. We'll see. It felt like he wanted to be in San Francisco. And supposedly the Bucs, and he had issues last year, so I don't know how that got fixed in a month. So we'll see what happens with the Brady. But our big focus with John Congemi is those Miami Dolphins. They have a ton of cap space, and John talked about how they will target the offensive line with a lot of their free agency dollars. He said this draft is full of receivers, defensive ends, running backs, and that's something the Dolphins need a lot of, but it's okay to get some younger guys at those positions. The offensive line is where they've drafted and struggled. Well, you have an Armstead out there, you have Collins out there, you have some other guys out there that could help instantly with the Miami Dolphins offensive line, which has been an issue since Dan Marino left, since the late 90s, early 2000s. They have not been able to correct that in the draft. Makes sense that free agency is where they would target the offensive line, and it's what I'm hoping for, and it's what John Congemi is thinking they're going to do. So, let's go, Dolphins. Get some offensive line help. Allow Tua to not have to get rid of the ball in 1 second. Give him 3 at least, and let him show that there is a reason he was a 5th overall pick in that draft just ahead of Justin Herbert and was in discussion to be right there with Joe Burrow before his hip injury. This is Tua's time. Mike McDaniel's coming. Going to put a focus on the running game. They're going to fix that wide receiver core that was injured so often that it was a disaster. And please fix that offensive line. John Congemi talks about the free agency period is a place to focus there. I agree. A lot of NFL insiders, analysts think the Dolphins will be very aggressive in free agency for the offensive line. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to you checking more of us out right here. Don't forget, you can get us each and every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 live on the IN channel. Just Google the Defo Show, DEFO. You can always check out exclusive content of us. Today, we talk with LeGarrette Blount. Yes, that former teammate of Tom Brady, won Super Bowl. Also played in Tampa, played out west, played everywhere. Was at Florida State a little bit before he went to Oregon. Lived most of his life in the state of Florida. LeGarrette Blount joins us today on the Believe Podcast Network. Just search Believe.com after hours. And each and every day, you can find us right here, the Defo Show with Lubie, on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Have a good Monday, and we'll catch you tomorrow. These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.